two-time Super Bowl champion, Giants legend, Phil Simms. Phil, good morning.
Good morning, guys. I mean, can we get a better song for me? What the hell? What's that song from?
That's from The Courtship of Eddie's Father. That was a TV show back in the day when you were growing up and I was growing up, and I asked Al to find that song because I just wanted to introduce you as my best friend.
Oh, I see.
You haven't
Okay,
figured that
well,
out
I
all
understand
year long.
now.
You just figured that out today?
Well, I've been meaning to say it, but, things always come up in my head, so I go with that instead of what, hey, Gio, you taking your balance of nature, your damn knee, what's wrong? What'd you do?
I don't know, man. It's embarrassing, I got to say. It really is.
Did you do something athletic at least?
No, I did not. That's why it's embarrassing. I don't do anything. I'm like a veal. I just sit in the dark all day. I don't understand.
Well, listen, you guys should hear my conversation with the great sports guy, Al Dukes here, before we come on. He goes, I said, Al, do you watch, and, when you talk, he goes, nah, I don't really watch any of the games. I just see one play, and I kind of talk off of that. Whatever. It's like,
That's the way he is with headlines. Like, he just sees a headline. He doesn't read the body of the article or anything. He just reads the headline.
Yeah, and I said, Jerry must feel like a genius around you, So,
he is. Actually, he is. All right, so we're talking to Phil Simms. Were you surprised?
All right, let's go.
Were you surprised that Mike McCarthy got fired? Not fired, but a mutual parting of the ways down in Dallas?
Yes, I was. I thought he was, kind of the perfect guy for Jerry Jones. I mean, Mike McCarthy never complained about the fact that when the game is over, it's always about what Jerry thinks. And, so Jerry always holds that press conference, Jerry Jones, of course. And, the Deion Sanders talk and all that, I was like, gosh, there's no way Jerry Jones would hire Deion from this respect. It's just that Jerry Jones is the spokesman for the Dallas Cowboys. He doesn't want the coach to be the spokesman. And if you got Deion Sanders, they might run to him instead of to Jerry Jones. So, I was a little surprised they let him go.
There's that side of Jerry Jones, but there's also the side of Jerry Jones where he wants everybody talking about the Dallas Cowboys, and he wants to be the most entertaining thing in the NFL. And maybe he did hire Bill Parcells at one point in his career when he was younger. Maybe Jerry at this point of his life is okay with somebody else being the face of the organization to give some life and some juice to this organization that's been down for the last couple of years.
Yeah, there's a couple things there. One, Bill Parcells did Jerry Jones love that experience? I know they played better, they were building whatever, but Bill's they go running to Bill Parcells because one, he's a great interview usually after or before games. That's one thing, and so I don't know. It was interesting, the whole thing. All these coaches, I just can't wait till they start hiring just to see what happens in the NFL.
Yeah, it's crazy. Maybe Kellen Moore gets a look down there. They know Kellen. Kellen knows them, and maybe Kellen's the perfect personality.
He would be perfect.
Yeah, he'd be perfect because of what you just said about Jerry Jones being the face of the organization. What did you think of Mike Vrabel's opening press conference as he was announced as the new head coach of the New England Patriots?
Well, I did watch some of it, and I just went, "Damn, he's big." So when he walks in the room, I don't care who you are. You go, "Hey, I got to be careful about this dude." His presence it's really tremendous. And I've told you, Boomer, and I guess Gio too. I've said this, and Mike Vrabel. I went down and had some time in Tennessee or whatever to watch games or do games, and when he was there, and he said this to me once that he couldn't wait to get a head job because he was going to show the X's and O's that he really wanted to use on it with his football team and his defense and all that. Then he got down there, he started doing it. He goes, "Look, this is about one thing. You got to have a great relationship with the players. That's the only way this thing is the way it works." And he really worked on that, and he did have a great relationship. The players loved him down in Tennessee. So I think the same thing is going to happen up in New England for him.
All right, so what happened to Sam Darnold against the Lions and then against the Rams? He was a MVP type of candidate before those two games. He was playing that well and then completely fell apart. So what did you see from your perspective?
Well, I just, going this way first, he did miss passes in both games. You got to know in this day and age where you are in that game or whatever. And I'm saying this, that you just got to go, I got to get rid of the football. Because each sack really ruined every drive. He did miss some throws too, but again, it was just more than that. It's is they would show replays and Troy Aikman's talking. I'm just going, guys, can we throw? And I said this to you guys probably last week. Can we throw some short passes? Does everything have to be, 20 yards trying to get it down the field to Justin Jefferson and Addison and all that? So, I had a little problem with that. And the offensive line, once again, Boomer and I talk about this stuff a lot during the week. I said when they played Week 8, the Los Angeles Rams defensive front pushed the offensive line of the Minnesota Vikings all around. And it kind of caught me by surprise when I watched it again. And I said, wow, I forgot this. And I said, well, I'm not worried. Minnesota, they're going to buck up and get tough. And after that Detroit fiasco, they'll play really well against the Rams. Well, that was not the case. They were awful.
Two other quarterbacks I want to ask you about coming out of the wild card round, and that would be Jordan Love of the Green Bay Packers and Justin Herbert of the Los Angeles Chargers. Neither one of them had what they needed to have, which would have been a perfect game against the defenses that they were going against, and they were both on the road. Your assessment of their performances?
Oh, well, listen, Justin Herbert it's a wonder he didn't get hurt. That's the first thing. And, the Houston Texans, they're very fast on defense. It is a good pass rush. They got really good corners who can cover. And when you look at the Los Angeles Chargers, I know all the talk is about Justin Herbert, and I understand. But he made a lot of great throws in the game. And when you look at the Chargers, they did a tremendous job building their team and getting it to the playoffs with Harbaugh out there. I give them a lot of credit. But they need running backs and they need wide receivers. And the good thing for them, I think that's probably two of the spots that you can really correct quickly. And they're a slow football team, really well coached. They manage games through the roof, I think, most of the time. But they were overwhelmed with the speed of the Houston Texans, really on both sides of the ball.
And then what happened with Jordan Love in Philadelphia?
Well, he's been shaky all year long. He's been beat up. I'm sure he's been playing. It's part of it. You don't get to practice. Boomer, when you're a little beat up as a quarterback, you're spending too much of your time during the week trying to feel good, and it's just not sharp. And he had that going on a lot this year. And the game against the Eagles, it really was that was his whole year. It was kind of like that. Just spotty, bad decisions, not good throws, throwing off his back foot, so it kind of ended the way it was all year. It was a rough year for him up there. And, when you're kind of nicked the whole year, he got nicked in game one, the first game of the year, down Philadelphia, down in Brazil. And it seems like he never really got in that rhythm where we saw last year. So,
talking to Phil Simms in his regular weekly spot here, 8 a.m. on Wednesdays. The Sims Spotlight. So I when I first glance at Lions Commanders, I'm thinking, the Lions are just going to absolutely crush them. I'm probably still going to stick with that. But when you're thinking about the game from a pressure standpoint and the way that Jaden Daniels handles pressure and the way that the Detroit Lions, the immense amount of pressure that they're going to have now with the 1 seed to get to the Super Bowl, is there any route for you to a Commanders victory in that football game this weekend?
Well, yeah, there is. I mean, the first, it's just, and I hate doing this. I don't hate doing this, but the quarterback, he's the great equalizer. Jaden Daniels is his movement, buying time to throw the football. He's really accurate. When people are open, he just doesn't miss them. And the coaching, Dan Quinn does a really good job for the whole team, but the offense is really well schooled and very creative, and they got the players to make plays. So this game could be close. But, Detroit, hey, they're well coached too, and they're rough, and they're ready to go. So I would be very surprised if Commanders could beat them, but the game could be close. And I'm going back to that Minnesota game. I was just so impressed with Aaron Glenn and how they played and how well they were coached. It was more than just they played hard. What they designed to do against the other team was spot on in every aspect. And I would think that'll be interesting to see. Are they going to have that same effect against the Washington Commanders? They haven't played them, but will they just be all over everything they're trying to do? That's what I'm trying to
I just think if the Commanders are going to win that game, they're going to have to score 34 points because, the Lions are going to put up 31 points.
Yeah.
I think on the Commander defense. I just want to – one other thing I wanted to ask you real quick about last week. There was a wide receiver for the Philadelphia Eagles who took out a book and started reading it on the sideline. Have you ever seen that before, or have you ever heard of that about A.J. Brown before?
I have not. Of course, I've never seen it. Listen, if he was reading a book on the sidelines, I think I heard you talk about it. Anytime during the year, it would be out there already. So we know why he did that, because he wasn't getting the football thrown his way. Winning a playoff game is not good enough. Okay, that's not good enough. I got to have some catches. And so I always think of this, and I think you sent it to me, Boomer, or you laughed about something with Bill Parcells, how he talked to everybody on the sidelines. I always go back to this. I just can't imagine what he would do if somebody did that with the team he was coaching. And it would be funny, because he would just destroy them. And so,
I mean, could you imagine, like, if Bill McConkey were on the sideline and he started reading a book because he only caught one pass from you?
Well, I will say this: especially me, I played in a different era, and I never, not once, ever had a receiver say anything negative to me about you got to get me the ball more. Never. And, I never thought about it like, I feel bad for him. He was open twice and I missed him or whatever. I never had that conversation with the wide receiver once in my whole career.
Yeah, neither did I. All right, so real quickly, I want to talk to you about now. It's Lamar and Josh Allen, man. This is the game of the year all of a sudden. It was the game of the year. The Vikings and the Lions, that was a regular season game of the year because of the records, what they were playing for. But now this is for all the marbles. This is, in my belief, this is to go play Kansas City, because I think Kansas City will beat Houston. But this is a matchup made in heaven. This is football at its best. It's two players that have had two of their best career years, if not their best career years. To me, as you always point out, Baltimore is a big physical football team. Buffalo tends to be a little bit smaller on defense, a little bit more athletic, a little bit faster. This is where brute force meets athletic ability. And I think in order to win the game, Josh Allen has to be what?
Well, he probably going to have to play close to perfect. That would be my first thought about it. And I do like the way they're trying to play in Buffalo. The game, Josh Allen's being very smart and careful the way he is playing, too. He's not taking chances early in games throwing the football. The running's really helped him out a lot. And you're right to say, Buffalo is, compared to the Baltimore Ravens, they are small. And the big thing is, can they stand up front on the defensive side to stop Derrick Henry? And, of course, now you got to watch Lamar, too, his running. I mean, Lamar against the Pittsburgh Steelers actually moved forward, moved to the right, then moved to the left, didn't like any of those positions, so he backpedaled backwards, and then he threw a pass that, got 20 yards. So it's a great undertaking, I think, for the Buffalo Bills. And I think Baltimore's the better football team on paper and maybe on the field. We saw that, weeks ago, how they manhandled the Bills. But the Bills are going to have to be sharp. I think they're going to have to score in the high 20s, low 30s to have a chance to win the game. I think, to me, I think Baltimore and Philadelphia are the two best teams left in the playoffs, in my eyes. And it wouldn't surprise me to see those two teams in the Super Bowl.
Interesting. Now, so not the Detroit Lions. You like even with the way that the Eagles played last week, you will take the Philadelphia Eagles over the Detroit Lions when that game is going to be in Detroit.
Yes. Right now, yes, I feel that way. Yes, wow. I think, the offensive line, just that alone, and the defensive line, the secondary, they got a good running back in Saquon. They got two great receivers. It's always show me the weak spot.
Yeah.
Besides the coaching of the Philadelphia Eagles.
You know what I think? I honestly believe that if Baltimore wins this game, which I'm leaning towards picking later on in the week, I think they're going to the Super Bowl. I think they're going to think about week one where they lost just barely to Kansas City. Kansas City's healthy now. They got all their wide receivers going. Everybody seems to be looking good except maybe McCole Hardman, but most likely he'll be active for the game. Kansas City's a great team, and I will never take anything away from both Andy Reid or Patrick Mahomes, but I just feel like this is Baltimore's year, the way Lamar played last week against Pittsburgh. I don't know. I felt like he was the fastest that I had ever seen him in that first half against Pittsburgh last week. It was amazing how quickly he was making decisions and taking off with the football.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a couple things. That's Lamar's way of really getting into the game, playing safe or whatever. Go back to the opening game of the year when they were in Kansas City. He was running into guys and trying to create the hits against people because I think that would probably settle him down, and it worked for him really well. So that'll be interesting to see. But Gio, you go to that. I know you're going to bring up Jalen Hurts of Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Listen, he's a very, very careful distributor of the football to the wide receivers. In other words, they got to be wide open. I don't know why sometimes he doesn't make certain throws, but when you're on a team that can control the game on both sides of the ball, it's kind of about how you have to play as a quarterback. So I'm not alarmed by the way he played last week. I think if he has to, he can open it up. And look, they got great guys to catch the football. So if they have to, I think they could throw the ball and still have a great effect on the game.
We were talking about the Lamar Jackson performance against the Steelers, and the Steelers have been in the news the last couple of days because of Mike Tomlin. We know how great of a coach Mike Tomlin is. We know that if he were available, there'd be every team with an opening would want to talk to him. But sometimes one guy in the same place could get stale. Do you believe that's what's going on with the Pittsburgh Steelers?
Absolutely. I think what you're saying is right. And two, when I look at the Steelers, all I hear, and I read it too, whatever, the quarterback. The quarterback is not really, to me, the big issue on the team. It's an overall lack of talent to win games like we saw this past weekend, or think they're going to make a deep run in the playoffs. There's no way. I mean, Russell Wilson, he was solid in the game, made some tremendous throws. And, what about the defense? My gosh, we know Baltimore inside out. We can't stop them in anything we try to do. And for Mike Tomlin, sometimes the message, the guys can only hear it so many times. And I'm not surprised he wants to stay in Pittsburgh, or he's going to. But even for him to go somewhere else and start doing his thing with another team, I mean, it's going to be exciting for the players, and it's going to reinvigorate him too. I'm sure he still has the energy, but going to another team would change him, and I think would make his job easier. That's just the way I think. But this whole thing about Pittsburgh and God, every team in the NFL, if you don't win a game, we need another quarterback. And to me, it's overall talent of the football team is their biggest reason why they can't go forward in the playoffs.
All right, last question for me, and this is regarding the Jets. They're interviewing everybody that they possibly can. I mean, I think they're up to like 33 people that they've interviewed.
Wow.
Do you believe, well, listen, Aaron Glenn's probably going to get one of these jobs, whether it be New Orleans, whether it be the Raiders, whether it be the Jets. Do you believe that Matt Nagy deserves another opportunity to be a head coach, despite what anybody's perception of him may be because of what happened in Chicago?
Well, yeah, listen, all these interviews, I mean, come on, doesn't it get confusing? We got all these guys over there. Yeah. I mean, it's wearing me out. I don't even pay attention. I don't even read it anymore. I don't know who they've interviewed. I lost track, 20 people ago. But Matt Nagy, I would say if I'm the Jets, he would not be the guy I would hire. I'll just keep it simple that way. He had some success, of course, down in Chicago, but I just think it would be better for the Jets to go somewhere else besides him. That'll be my point.
Okay. Is there someone on these lists that you stop paying attention to that you like for the Jets or not?
Man, hey, Gio, I've given up. I really have. I'm like, oh, God, come on. What are we doing? Who are we waiting on? Who have they not interviewed that they might think about hiring with the Jets?
Well, it'll be Aaron Glenn. You could see Steve Spagnuolo. They interviewed both of those guys. Matt Nagy's on that list. They're both still coaching. And then, of course, you have Brian Flores, whose team just finished. Do you think Brian Flores makes sense for the New York Jets?
Listen, I'm a big fan of his. I like what he does. I don't think he'll be the New York Jets head coach. Steve Spagnuolo or Aaron Glenn, I would say I would be really happy if either one of those two. If you're a Jet fan, you should be. And for me, I follow both teams up here in the New York area. So I think either one of those guys would be a great hire by the New York Jets. I think they both are ready. Spagnuolo, hey, he's done it before. He can correct the mistakes he made the first time he was a head coach. And for Aaron Glenn, I think he's proven he can take guys that are not great and still make them really good players on the field, and I think that's an important aspect for any head coach.
All right, Phil, excited to see you tomorrow. I know that feeling is not mutual, but we're going to have a good
I
night.
can't wait to see you. You and I, man, we'll sit together. I got a bad foot, you got a bad knee, so we're some pair.
This is great.
Just please do me a favor. Can you please wear a
shut
sock?
up, Boomer.
Just wear a sock on that foot of yours, all right? He shows up to this appearance on Sunday night. He doesn't wear a sock, and I got to look at these meat hook foot. Oh. I mean, it's just.
Hey, my foot looks like the Nutty Professor and Eddie Murphy's. His feet blow up, man. I can't even get a shoe on. And you're right, Boomer. I did yesterday. I put a sock on my foot, so I was like,
God.
okay, I think I'll do that. Yeah,
especially with the food that we're going to be eating, and the great meal that these guys are going to put together for us. The last thing I want to do is look at your nasty feet.
Wow. Okay. All right. Yeah. Okay. All right. Hey. All right, can't wait to see you guys, and we'll talk. We'll see what goes on, and it'll be fun. So thanks for having me on today.
All right, Phil. Take care. Right. Phil Simms every Wednesday at 8 a.m. The Simms Spotlight brought to you by Balance of Nature Whole Food Supplements. Visit balanceofnature.com. All right, Boomer and Gio on the Fan and CBS Sports Network.